It looks like your boy Elon Musk and X, formerly known as Twitter, may have found himself in some hot water. We'll take a look at the article here in a little bit. For those of you who don't know, I am your host, Dave, a 10-year intellectual property attorney dealing with everything from patents to trade secrets, copyrights, as well as trademarks. So it seems like a PR firm hit X with a trademark lawsuit here earlier this week for trademark infringement of the actual name X, which we had actually break down the lawsuit, probably not next week, probably in a couple of weeks. We actually go through the complaints. I typically do that on a live every Sunday. I break down an intellectual property lawsuit, whether it's a trademark issue or a patent issue or whatever the case may be. So we're going to take a quick look at this article and I'll give you my thoughts because I do think it's a lot of learning lessons in it for the everyday person. Again, my goal with all this stuff is to actually give you the information so that when you go start your business, whether that be a restaurant or a PR firm or you're selling a widget, you can protect all your intellectual property from patents to trademarks, copyright, so forth and so on. Now, I think, again, there's going to be a lot of learning lessons in this one. And let's get off into the article here as I pull it up. So this is actually from Reuters. X Corp hit with the lawsuit from PR firm over the X trademark. So obviously, this is the X trademark. So this was earlier this week, July 22nd. Elon Musk's X social media platform violates the trademark rights of PR firm Multiply, according to a lawsuit filed in California federal court that was made public on Monday. The complaint said that X, formerly known as Twitter, causes consumer confusion by using the X trademark for social media marketing services that compete with Multiply. Seems like that's the name of the PR firm, Multiply. Spokesperson for X essentially did not immediately respond at this point in time. A Multiply spokesperson said in a statement that Musk shamelessly stole the established identity of our social media and PR agency, and the company had no choice but to defend our trademark and fight Twitter in court. Now, this is interesting because for all of you who don't know or who have been living under a rock, Twitter or Elon Musk bought Twitter, in 2023, a couple years ago, for over $40 billion. So obviously that made national headlines, that made waves, not only across the country, but across the world. And I mean, I think that, it was a couple years ago. He actually changed the name from Twitter to X. And again, actually Elon Musk and Twitter still owns the trademark for the term Twitter. So definitely put that out there because he, just because he did a name change from Twitter to X, he did not get rid of the trademark. They still actually own the trademark for Twitter. But I guess the interesting thing is he did that name change from Twitter to X back in 2023, so last year. However, this is July of 2024, and this PR firm Multiply is just now coming out of the woodworks to actually try to sue X for trademark infringement. So you guys have to let me know in the comment section, do you think this is a money grab, or do you think it's some real merit to this case and that it's been a confusion? The whole standard with trademark law is a likelihood of confusion. So if two people, you and I being a consumer, for example, if we're looking at X and we're looking at this PR firm Multiply and they're essentially trademark X, are we going to get confused that somehow X that's associated with Elon Musk is or that's owned by Elon Musk is associated with this PR firm and kind of their company? That's the whole standard of trademark law, trying to essentially protect you and I as a consumers, such that we're not getting confused over these different companies that are have the same name essentially. So I think it's a little interesting. Leave your comments in the comment section. Do you think this is a money grab by the PR firm Multiply, or do you think it's real merit? It always kind of makes me skeptical because, again, they clearly knew of this change when it happened last year in 2023. I think July of 2023, when Elon Musk announced that they were changing the name of Twitter from Twitter to X, and it was essentially crickets. Now all of a sudden, a year later or over a year later, this company, this PR firm Multiply, is actually coming out the woodworks and suing Twitter for trademark infringement. I don't know. I think that's interesting. Let's get back to the article, finish it up here. Then I do want to show you guys the actual trademark of the PR firm Multiply, but it seems like Musk rebranded Twitter as X after buying the platform last year. Hundreds of other companies own X trademarks, and Musk X is already facing a separate infringement. So it seems like some other companies that kind of deal with social media is suing Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter, for trademark infringement. Let's see here. Virginia-based Multiply. So it seems like this company, this PR firm Multiply, is based out of Virginia, has created social media and ad campaigns for drink brands, including Arizona Corona and Liquid Death. So it seems like they're, somewhat, associated with some popular companies. The firm said it adopted X branding in 2019. So it seems like it adopted this X branding in 2019 and owns a federal trademark covering its X logo. According to the complaint, the Twitter rebrand has already confused some of Multiply's again. So we talked about the whole point of trademark law is the likelihood of confusion, and they're saying in their complaint that this rebrand of Twitter has already confused some of their customers, existing and prospective clients, many of which overlap with X Corps. Multiply asked the court to force X Corp to stop using the term X trademark and to award an unspecified amount of monetary damages. Is it a money play or not? That's the $1,000,000 question. But I do think this is actually a kind of a big learning lesson, and I think this is more relevant than ever. I was on Instagram a few days ago, and I saw an actual article where it was a restaurant that, black-owned restaurant that they, were doing pretty good. They had 2 physical stores as well as a food truck. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I had to interview them or reach out to them to try to get them on a podcast for an interview. So then I looked at the name of the actual restaurant, which I'm not going to say. So I'm like, okay, I'm actually, make sure they're protecting their trademark. Again, I feel like that's a big part of what I'm doing, why I'm doing this, being on the internet, kind of talking about this stuff as an intellectual property attorney, because I want people to protect their IP. This stuff is extremely valuable, and I want people to take the necessary means to protect their IP. However, as I was kind of looking at the name, I'm like, let me do a quick trademark search. And lo and behold, it's another restaurant that owns that name. So, man, it's important for you before you start whatever company that you're going to start, whether you're selling widgets, restaurant services, whatever, you need to actually do at least a quick 15, 20-minute search to see if that name is taken. Because to the extent that that name is taken, you probably want to come up with another name because you're not going to be able to protect it, number one, from a trademark perspective. I always want you to come up with names that you can actually protect and get the IP rights to it. Because again, these IP rights are valuable. People would pay a lot of money to, whether there's a licensing or to just kind of buy the name outright. So I think you want to select a name that is you can protect. And a big part of that, again, before you go into the operation of your business, whatever that may be, just go to Google, type in TESS, and click on the trademark search database and type in a name that you're thinking. And if it comes up for the classes that you're trying to get it in, then it's not available, and therefore you probably want to look to another mark. Again, it's very imperative that you can actually get protection on the actual name that you're looking for. But number 2, and more importantly, you want to make sure that nobody else has it, because if they do and you continue to go forward and just have your business under that name, they can send you a cease and desist letter and essentially or effectively get you to have to rebrand your whole business because you're committing trademark infringement. So again, that's going to be the interesting thing with that restaurant that I was talking about, because somebody actually already owns a trademark for that name in the restaurant industry. So it's only really a matter of time before the company that I wanted to reach out to get on my podcast, before that gets on the radar of the actual bigger, not bigger company necessarily, but the company that owns a trademark. They send them a cease and desist letter. Now, as you're trying to grow, like I said, 2 stores, 2 physical locations, and a food truck, now you have to actually rebrand, which kind of sets you back, as well as cost you a lot of extra money from a marketing and from an advertising standpoint, and can cost you in sales, as people kind of have to pull up to your restaurant like, hold on, it used to be called X, now it's called Y. Is this still associated with it, or did they go out of business? And it just kind of leads for a lot of uncertainty, which can affect you. So definitely make sure you can, number one, own IP to the name that you're trying to start your business with. But more importantly, nobody else has it. Because even if you don't, and again, I'm always say, make sure you can get the IP, but say you don't look to get the IP right away. If somebody owns your name, then it's only a matter of time before you get hit with a cease and desist letter, have to actually change your name and get hit with a lawsuit, which again, that's not a good thing as well. I would imagine that, and I'm not sure, like I said, once we get off into the lawsuit in a couple of weeks, I'll be able to kind of better tell what's going on. But I'm sure that as smart as Elon Musk is and his camp is, I'm sure that if he would have did a cursory search, he would have found what I'm going to show you here in a little bit. Let's kind of actually pull it up right now, just so I can show you. So again, the company, even though it's Multiply, they do business. They DBA is Multiply, but they're actually the owners. The company is actually called 0DB Communications. So this is the test database that I was telling you about. You see 0DB here. You see the owner 0DB Communications, and this is the X logo that they're talking about. So you see DB Communications, and then you see the X logo. Now, just because they have the X logo, that doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot use it. You have to look at the goods and services that they're using it in. And if those goods and services are similar to what you're doing, then you may have some issues. So we all know X, Elon Musk, Twitter, that's a social media essentially platform. And if you kind of blow this up here, you will see, as I kind of pull it up, providing marketing consulting in the field of social media, online customer-based social media brand marketing services, social media strategy, and marketing consulting related to creating and extending products and brand strategies through. So again, they're obviously kind of dealing within the social media realm, if you will. And again, if Elon Musk and his team would have did a quick search, then they would have found that out. And then they would at least known that, okay, it's a good chance that we may get hit with a lawsuit somewhere along the lines. Maybe they did do that stuff and they didn't care. And they, figure, hey, we can kind of negotiate a deal, or we can just consume them with legal fees to the point where they have to sell it, or they essentially give us a license. I'm not sure what that plan was, but if him and his team would have did some type of cursory research on this test database, they would have saw that, okay, somebody actually owns the name X. They're using it in the same class that we're using that in, namely social media services, social media marketing, consulting, things of that sort. So again, this is a learning lesson to you all out there who I want for you to protect your intellectual property, want to monetize your intellectual property with regard to your business. But before you do all that, at least make sure that you're not going to get sued. Now, preferably, I want you to be able to actually get your IP or your name or your logo or whatever protected. But if you don't get it protected because you don't want to spend the money, at least make sure no one else is using your name, because to the extent that someone else is losing your name, it's only a matter of time before you get sued. So hopefully you guys are picking up what I am putting down. I thought this was an interesting one. I at least wanted to share the article with you guys. Like I said, we're going to do a deep dive on a live stream in the lawsuit, and kind of break down what happened. A lot of times the lawsuit kind of gives you the background information, kind of goes off into the communication between the parties at hand, and you can pick up a lot of valuable information. So we will do that, but I thought it was at least good to kind of share this information and at least give you those kind of how to avoid being sued and how to avoid, or at least how to find out whether or not you can actually use a mark. I know Elon Musk, they've been around the block long, more times than not, to the point where they knew what they can and can't do, at least in my opinion. So it'll be interesting how this plays out. But for you, again, make sure that you are protecting the IP, preferably, but at the very least, making sure that the name that you're looking to choose for your business is not taken by someone else that's dealing with it within the same class. Because if it is, it's only a matter of time before you get a cease and desist letter and a lawsuit. So hopefully you guys got something out of it. Let me know in the comment section what you think about the video and whether or not you got something out of it. And let me know who you think is going to prevail in this X versus X lawsuit, essentially. So let me know. I would love to hear from you guys. Until next time, peace.